So I'm not going out. I'm still in Boca. I didn't go to town. And you're coming back, what did you say, Monday?
Monday, so we can learn Monday.
Monday, okay. All right, so I think we had some unfinished business. Let me just see if I can find how I might have messed this up. We're on page ratio tests. I think we had some unfinished business down at the bottom with the Hakavanot. That's what I think. So, but we need to read a little bit just to get the gist of what we're doing. And on page ratio test, so we said. So tikun hanuk batzilus. So we discussed that. The Nishlamala Esther Spheros Kanizker. Now she's Esther Spheros. We saw all the different problems, so possibly to understand that. Now she's going to come up into Atzilus. Now, let me just read across the top here a little bit more. And then we'll come back and pick up some of the TIV. So he said, "V'lechein anan tzrichen tikun acher v'hu lahashlima l'vsakta gam l'mala b'bechilis olam atzilus. Sheyushlach hashesh hachaseri mimena." We know that she's missing her koch of Chabad. Her Chabad, I guess they call it Chabad Chaga. Avatihi ha'kumasach of shavar el kumasu shel shera ba'olam atzilus. Uganeged tikun zeh anu oimrim shishim asfon. We have the 60 letters that we're going to be concentrating on it. The birchos kohanim. So these 60s have to do with 10 times 6. So it's the building up of the 6 with the aspect with inside of them, which is another 10. So the writer, that is, I guess, the Marchul, so let's talk about this. It's a little more complicated here. After you slept, there's going to be an aliyah of the nukva to go into Atzilus or go where? Or she's going to be some changes. So he said, so this is the concept of elevating the nukva up through the agency of Abba Ve'ima, the nukva, the Eila, the Sakta, the Besoda Mochim, Elohagdila, to bring her Mochin, then Mochin of godless, and then to grow her up. One second. Light burnt out. Abba Ve'ima, the nukva, the Eila, the Sakta, the Besod HaMochim, Elohagdila, Besod V'yive, Hashem Elokim, Asad Salah. This could be looked into. We're going to. V'nimsar ki hadalad hi Rachel. So Rachel is the number 4. The Havav refers to Leah. This is an interesting idea by itself, but we understand in terms of how are we getting these numbers. So we're getting these numbers in their relationship to Zer Anpin. So Rachel goes to the bottom 4 of Zer Anpin is Tani. And then from the Tiferes, the other third of Tiferes upwards, that's where Leah is concerned. And there's six spheros corresponding to Zeranpin. V'shteichem olos v'na'asid parts of Echad, v'shalim, v'gavoho v'gakol shir Zeranpin, Keninska la'eo. That's how you have it. B'seder kolel b'layla v'ayin sham hetiv kem nira la'niyastaiti. So let's come back and let's read just go through what we can. There's a little shefa here, like I said. And let's go through the TIV, though, just light print. So he says on number Kaf tests, we did Lamed. We're on number Lamed. So the Achasha Rachel Gadola Godlo Ba'olam Abriya. Now she's grown in Olam Abriya. Benishla the Kishicha Bekumas Azer Anpit. I'm just thinking about the halacha. I'm always thinking about the halacha of actually how you do this, because in my life, it's very difficult for me to think of in terms of waking up in the middle of the night to say tikkun chatzos, but I see there's a complication also. The tikkun chatzos really needs to be said before midnight. because at that point, right before midnight, that's the time when it's still shaykh. But after that, I think that from what we've seen, that it loses some of its shaykhs. And so I wind up saying Tikkun Tzos at the, I go to bed like 11 or 12, somewhere between that time and that time spirit period, and I say Tikkun Tzos first. I'm not sure if that's right, but it seems like it's the best alternative. It's not too late, and it's closer to Chatzos. Anyway, that's where it is now for me. The Nishma L'Gashira Kumas is Zer Anpin. That's the idea that they're going to now be the same size as Zer Anpin. Ola Rachel, but the Bechazara Ola Matzilus, now she's going to come back into Matzilus. Atad Srichin L'Sakin Tikkun Sheni Behi Yosef B'Atzilus, but she needs to have another Tikkun. What is it she needs to be mashme? What? The sixth that she's always missing. The Chamshek Law Shuv El Shir Kumas Hashisha Spheres, like a Saren law. Because should take the Shir Kumas as a Spheres is their Anpin, as we know that. Then he says, Tikkun Zera Na'asara Yedera B'Meir Shishim Osias Shebeshloshas Pesukim Berchos Kohanim Vayadei Ke Nishlam Kumasa Kumas is their Anpin, and this allows her to have now the same height as their Anpin. The Tzilus. So he said the gam b'chatzilus yesh lo shir kumas dalit spheres. Also, it's like an image of what you did in. There's a lot of questions about this. I think kumas dalit spheres, which was when she was in Bria, but tzrich lahamshek lo od sheish spheres, so she's going to need the other 6 spheres again. Hine nizbar shebalayla ola rochel. This is happening as she's moving up. So this only happens where she actually moves up like that after Chatzos Salayla. I thought he was going to say after Amud HaShachar, but he didn't. Ela shemakdimin the kaven as a gavonas a shaychim lazer kvar be'ez Kriat Shemah Al Hamita. So here you see the Kriat Shemah Al Hamita said before Chatzos Salayla. And this is really in correspondence with what Rebbe Nachman says that because you're very makbid in teaching that we need to say Tikkun Tzos. So he said it could be 2 hours before midnight, 2 hours after midnight. Over here, let's read his words. Ella shemakdim in the kabin as a kavana for shayachin law lazeh kavar be'ez Kriat Shemah Al Hamita kodem v'shena before you go to sleep. So now there's an aliyah that's going to take place. So the timing of this is difficult, but for me, I'm doing the best I can. As if I can wake up at but this time of year is very difficult. Anyway, let's go to light print. Keeping going on number Lamadal. He says Omer Maruchu, and the Maruchu says like this: Shenira lo sha. Ha'aliyah hazuz al murakan. Now the question is, like somebody says, well, I'm going to lift this whole world up to the world of Chachma and Bina. What does he mean by that? He says, in Yanu hu knesis anai da Abba ve'ima in amochim shebahem el toch parts of anuk be'esa dormita l'zah. So right there's a little stirrer in there, but in regards to Abba ve'ima, he's going to talk about it. Be'esa dormita l'zachim b'vor la'el. So what happens is, at the time of the Dornita, as we know, the Mochin come out of Zer Anpin, and instead they go into the Nukva. So he says, but he says in parentheses, and once you understand that it's talking about the Mochin the Ima, which we have a question here, but it didn't say that, it said that it's Abba Ve'ima. That's that idea. How do you build up the tzela? That is if you look at Adam and Eve and you see that Eve is stuck onto the back of Adam, that's a metaphor for Malchus being on the backside of Zer Anpin, and she's going to get the Shefa coming directly into her. So we have a little bit more, one more to do over here on this side. Let me see how it's going to go. There we go. So he said, "V'hine disboyer la'el the bechetzech alayla charisha neknase the mochin ma'at parts of Leah." She starts getting more and more mochin. How does that happen? Misha'alas Rachel as kalachel the Leah mat, but she doesn't give all of her spheres. That's the 9 spheres that she's missing. She's not going to she's going to give rather. She's not going to give them at one time. She's going to give them little by little. Rachel is now going to be gone. She's going to just have a remnant of herself, and Leah is going to absorb it. So now we have all the mochin coming into Leah. This is at midnight. So we see now that the parts of the Nuk has within it 2 parts Sufim, both Rachel and Leah. Parts of Echad, Shashir, Kumasa, Bekol, Kumasa, Zer, Anpin. Now we're talking about with the second part, where we're going to say Yivarechecho. He says Kumasa, Bekol, Kumasa, Zam. Now we see the Leah now, let's go back, we said she's the aspect of the letter Vav, Mishum, the Shir, Kumasa, Hum, Kasset, Zer, Anpin. That's how he said it now. He says the Kof with Chagat. Ad Teferish Hem Shisha Sfiros. Rachel he Bechina Dalad, which we discussed before. Mishum Deshir Kumasu, who in relationship to Zer Anpin. Mehet Teferis to Zer Anpin, Ad Siam Raglav Shem Arba Sfiros, which is going to be 4 Sfiros. Now, let's see, we have a limited time today. We'll do the best we can. Number Kof Dalad on page Ratio Test. Is going to discuss here. Let me make some room for myself. We're going to go like this. He says, then we're going to talk about in her, that is, the Nukva in Olam, moving up into Olam Asilus. The Dasa Sode, so this is the Sode. Now we're starting to pick up this difference of opinion. I don't think I would call it a machlokas. I would say that it's not quite that strong. I don't think it's strong at all. It's really just different points of view. So there's 2 aspects that are different. He said that the Chida is Misaknim, but the first thing is Misaknim as Shorish Anuk Shavabriya, we're first doing that, her root, which is in Bria. V'la'achar mekan misaknim as shor shebechatzilus, and after that we go to a shor. So we know that. That's what he said. Achein the das Shem and Sasan, but according that's where he says that's the Sodeh. The Shem and Sasan on the other then shachakol ma'ire b'ranuk datzilus. Everything is only talking about the nuk of Atzilus. Shetakidach besaknim as the nuk datzilus from the mashlime ozachol the essence fears behiyos b'olam abriya. So what we're taking the nuk, which is the nuk of Atzilus, is really the entity. We're not talking here about the root of the nuk. We're talking about the nuk herself going down into Bria. And then she goes back into Atzilus. Besaknim the Zechah B'Shenis will make it second tikkun. Why? Because she still needs the upper 6 in this world, like it's an image or a mirror image or something like that of what happened in Bria is going to be happening over here. So now she's already complete in Bria. So what do we have to do it again in Atzilus? She was already complete down there. So we should be able to bring up all of her 10 spheres up there. But it doesn't work out that way. But Pirush and Sasan wants to explain Al Pi Ma there is the ale, as what we have up above. One second. So Al Pi Ma there is the ale. The Bekol Ace, Sha'ana Magdilim, as the Malchus, the parts of Shalom, whenever we bring Malchus into complete parts of, they call Makom La'acher, call Aliyah Sha'oila, so now she's a complete parts of, and that is an Aliyah for her. And again, he explained previously that the concept of the Aliyah is that Shef is coming from Zer Anpin, is coming from Olam Atzilus, that is building her up, let's say from Zer Anpin for the Dormita. In any case, she's going up, and she's been completed. But then, when she comes to the new world, she becomes very small again. But so because of that fact, that's what happens. He's saying the whole 10 spheros in Olam Abriya is one dot in Olam Asilus. So therefore you have to grow her up, the parts of Shalom. Od Issa Shams, he says also over there, the Ramalchul will be Bebriya, when she's in Briya, Besod Nakuda. So she begins to start out, she's just a dot, right? She's just the kesser of her kesser, that's all. Tzarek lahagdila v'lahashlimah as a spheres, we have to grow her up. She'im lo kain, she'im lo kain. Lo tuchel la'alos l'tzilus, but that's a preliminary, or what is the preliminary to being able to move into a tzilus. So she's going to get not zer anpin, but a harp from zer anpin shebechatzilus. Because that ha'ara that's coming from tzilus from zer anpin is big bucks in it was that I always think about the poor people who came from Eastern Europe and trying to get into America. If you had a $5 bill, then you could take your whole family, maybe your whole community, in terms of Russian money. But it doesn't come out to be that much when you get to the United States. That's all, you can't live off of it. V'ayidei came the shlemas, the parts of Shalom Bebriya, so therefore we complete parts of in Briya. So now she's roi to go up. V'achar kach older the tzilus. V'ozma tzilus misma'atis shuv, so that we say that she's back to a dad in the kudas achas. V'zagdila the parts of Shalom, so we have to grow her up to be complete parts of it. Ba'odah bechatzilus while she's still there. Tehida magdila ma'odah ba'odah ach ba'ach. So now he says parenthetically that how do we grow her? Well, first we grow her up into this in the side where she becomes a complete height. Ach ba'ach. Ba'achalach mekan. Then after this, kishiba when she comes around to the front once again, misma'at shuv besod nakuda. She's just a dot. So every movement he's saying causes her to change like this, or to become a dot, mismayit. But tzrich l'hagdilo, so shuv, you got to grow her back up again. Then after that, if the zivug takes place, ad kan b'divrei Rab Shom. You've no seder hatikunim. So now you can understand the order of the tikkunim that we're talking about. Anaasim kande that are made here in this place. Dihine rochel, yarda b'laylach al chabriya, b'dahida misaktim amagdilim as sanuk b'hi yosef b'briya kadei shetuchul achar kach la'alos la'tzilus. V'achar kach she'oida la'tzilus. Then after that, when she goes into atzilus, Miss Ma'atas Shuv Besod Nakuda, she becomes limited down into a dot again. V'tzark la'asos asatika nasheni the hagdiya b'atzilus, and that's the intro to what we're talking about. Now, so we have a little bit more time, so let's look at number Kaf Hey. Amacha Kosev, it's the Marchul. Chabeit No V'rei, so look and see, Inyan Aliyas and Nukvas, and what's described that. So this divrei marchu kan stumim b'mixas. They're a little bit hard to understand. I guess he says this doesn't say everything. V'tzrich and beer. V'shema kavanasach of the masha niska, the air where it says sherochel choiseba dalit sviros. The naasa parts of echad im leah v'gad loch the shir kumas kolza, and that's what we wrote. V'zechu gufa ha'omor kan sherochel mekabelas od vav sphira v'nishlemes kashir kol kumas azer anpen, and she becomes the complete kind. V'yesh lomer od, there's more. What are we trying to say? V'yu'un b'teres chacham ma shabir b'zeh. Okay, there wasn't that much to get out of that. Let's see, we have 1 minute. I'll start it up anyway. Ha'alas abba ve'ima, that's the one I was looking for. Beyond the beteva guvonas, shachal guvona deny the abba ve'ima nimshachim b'cha be'es dormita. V'afsha the chayre, so we know from other places in the Rav that Abba doesn't get involved in it. Maybe in Purim, I don't know, I have to think about Purim. But here we see that it's explained in many different places. But he said, but in any case, we know this. We've seen this answer before. Does a chiluf take place? What happens after the chiluf? Nimsa b'nai de'ima hamochin the bina. We see that in the nai de'ima there are mochin that come from bina, ugevuras shehem b'nai de'aba, that move into the nai of Abba. Kodem ha'chiluf. Excuse me, I said it wrong. De'ima hamochin the bina ugevuras shehoya b'nai de'aba. Kodem ha'chiluf. They were in the nai of Abba before the chiluf. Based on because there's a switch that takes place, and there's some aspect of Abba which is now an Ima. Masha Omer Shema'alam Abba ve'Ima as Nuk Lamala, who al pi hanoida the called parts of Kishaniknasam the Lohum Mochim, who Misa'alam B'Dragasa. So we understand the Amnam, Sarach Iyun. So how can we say that? After the sleep, it's all midnight already. Before that, okay, I kind of ran through it. I might want to do it again because I know we're out of time. Okay, thanks for learning with me today. I'll see you tomorrow, God willing, Rebbe, and we'll go over it maybe then. Call to. Here we go.